All right, I got a question for you, Phoenix. What is it like being an introvert on YouTube?
I kind of brought this up a little bit because that was kind of my topic per se. I guess the reason I wanted I didn't never asked you like, are you an introvert or an extrovert? But I feel like we've talked about the hate for you or whatever, the misconceptions about you sometimes, and sometimes I feel like even some of the way you might make people feel a certain way to not like you might be because you're not always trying to make people super comfortable. And my brain was like, is he a little bit of an introvert? Because I know you on and off camera. I edit your videos, so I see you before camera's rolling, when it's rolling. Like, is there something you have to turn on, or is it just you, or are you your pure truest self?
He looks like Count Olaf when he's standing by himself.
Why are you such a prickly person is basically what I'm hearing.
No, not at all.
No, here's the thing. What you're identifying as introversion, I would just say is disagreeableness. Like anyone who just watched that fast food bit, you can kind of see, like, I'm not scared of having conflict with people. Like, I don't.
Yeah, you came in my house, haven't seen my son in a year, and immediately made fun of him twice.
I did. I roasted his haircut, the poor guy.
Well, like, my poor son just went through like a life altering change. He feels so good about himself, and Caleb walks in, he's like, "What's up with your hair, dude?"
I was like, whatever you do, man, just don't take me to your barber, please.
Yeah, that's what he said. My son, for news, he shaved his head and bleached his hair. So,
yeah, that's going to be a core memory for him. He'll need some therapy for that. But no, yeah, I'm very comfortable with conflict, and I do, because I value honesty so much. Like, I think I put more out there than some people would be comfortable with. But I'm curious. Yes. Why are you so convinced that I'm an introvert? Because I feel like it has roots in an experience that we had together, which I definitely want to correct on public record.
There is no correcting. I am right in this. I don't know if Lance, you heard this story, but a while back, and Caleb will tell his side, and we'll kind of like refresh it for the people who haven't heard in a while. Caleb and I, been friends for a long time, done stuff on YouTube, but never really like spent like real time together. It'd be like me kidnapping you, Lance, and I'm like, hey, you're with me for the next 3 days, me and you, same hotel, driving everywhere. There's no option. And Caleb and I, friends, goofy, laughing. But after like the first couple hours, we're driving in a car together. We start to realize like there are some serious differences between us. And this is not like, I'm not talking like politically or anything. It's, I love to talk and keep conversations moving. And he loves for you not to talk and not enjoy life. Every time I'd be like, there's a lake, look how pretty. He'd be like, I don't care.
Shut up.
You don't have to point out that there's a lake over there.
We went to lunch with him in Arkansas, and like I walked up, I was like, is Caleb all right? He's just like hunched over like a burger, and he's just not saying anything.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk. And we'll let you respond soon.
Yeah, you got it.
When we went to a hotel together, that's when he confronted me.
Oh my gosh.
And he told me, hey, dead serious, just so you know, it's okay not to talk once in a while.
I was so livid when I heard you tell the story. That is not what happened.
That is so what happened. And I was sitting there and I'm like, in my head, trying to be respectful of this troll, I'm like, it's okay to enjoy life and talk to me. And in the morning he woke up, and I swear, if you ever watch footage of a sloth on a tree turning their head, he like didn't want to look at me. He didn't want to talk to me. He just slowly rose from the bed and like just 3 minutes of like slowly looking at me like, don't you dare say a word to me right now. That is how I read that.
Riff.
And when we drove home, it was almost awkward because it's after you confronted me.
Almost awkward at this point.
And he's like, you don't need to talk the whole time. So on the way home, which I gracefully drove him 3 hours, I was like purposely not talking to him when I wanted to talk to him.
It was on his way.
All right. Let
Your
Caleb,
side of the story.
I want to hear the other side of this story.
Oh my gosh, I am livid. So first of all,
Here we go.
The drive up. Not awkward at all. Not even a little bit. No conflict. Just a couple of chums having a good time. We get to this hotel, which, by the way, we were at this hotel because I bribed some people to get him into this exclusive YouTube event out of the generosity of my own heart, flipped the bill for the entire hotel room, and invited him. That's the context. Let's just establish that. After a couple days, here's what I need to explain to people.
Such bullcrap.
Here's what I need to explain. What you won't know from just listening to Riff on a podcast is that when I say he can't be quiet, what I mean is that like he'll go into the bathroom in our shared hotel room, and what I hear is what's that? Oh, the water's wet. Wow. Oh no, that's my bottle. Don't touch me. He's alone in there.
Sounds like someone enjoying life
You
to
okay?
me.
You okay in there, Caleb? You seem kind of quiet. And this is going on for 48 hours straight. Did not say anything. By the way, when I woke up the next morning, I had recently had a neck injury and I was stretching it. Not even kidding. I passed out at the doctor's office into a door. My neck was injured.
I actually didn't know that.
Well,
I wish I did know
there's
that.
the truth. And what I said to him was not, did you know it's possible to be quiet?
You
What I
said
said,
it's okay to be quiet once in a while.
what I said was, it was actually a question. I asked, would you say that you are uncomfortable with silence?
Who says that?
Maybe it's passive aggressive, but it's not nearly as confrontational as all that, because I wanted to open a dialogue and say, you know what, I'm actually someone that's really recharged by silence. And it's a scarce resource when I'm in your company.
And what was his answer to that?
His answer,
Well, he said he felt awkward the whole time.
yeah, his
afterwards.
answer
He didn't
was,
know what to do.
how dare you?
I don't remember my immediate answer at that point. I think it was just like almost maybe like, no, I remember. I don't remember what I said, but I remember my next like moments were so difficult for me because it's my natural habitat to like point things out or like goof off. So
You're
2 seconds after he told me, I'd be like walking to the bathroom and be like, beat it. And then like go to turn on the shower, but like I like wanted to say something like, "Oh, hey, it's hot in here," or something. But I was like, I can't talk. So it was just full of me, like probably sounding like I have Tourette's in the other room, like starting to talk and then just immediately shutting myself up.
Oh,
So, anyways, I just wanted to clear the air and say that, boy, next time we are at a exclusive event that I have gotten you into graciously, I'll just go ahead and buy you your own room.
Thank you, I appreciate
all
it.
right. I would love for you to segue yourself into the things that you wanted to address about our podcast, like our hot takes and whatnot.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
said you have a
Oh.
listener. What, you have a phone?
Yeah,
You
he
have
had a phone.
notes?
This is a note.
He says we make a lot of mistakes on our podcast.
I was like, you know what? He's not an introvert. He's all right.
Is it not quiet enough for you, Caleb? Would you like more silence in our podcast?
That last story brought tears to my eyes. You look
Oh,
like you were
I am
tearing up over there
literally
too. I
crying
had
out,
tears
like,
coming down. That
Because
was
I
pretty
know
funny.
how Riff is. He's
I'm
definitely
I'm
that.
picturing you
I-
in the
it
bathroom.
is fun.
Exactly,
I-
going do 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 do.
Dude, I'm telling you, building this shed with Riff, he is exactly
Ask
that.
my kids. I do not like. I don't know how to not like beep or anything, or
I was talking
I
about it
just
with
don't know how.
Lance earlier, and I was saying in a good way. I was like, your energy levels. I don't know how you sustain them. You run like a marathon a day, and it's not like you're like up and down. It's not like you have like a really high point and then you're really low. It is constant.
He's
like,
an Energizer
full
bunny.
rev, and I don't know
Actually
how
call
you
that.
maintain it. I
That's
don't
what
know.
my mom used to call me, that the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, I
People
don't-
ask, before I get into ripping you a new one here, people ask me all the time, how does he do it? When I tell them he's got a full-time job, he has his own YouTube channel, he edits for me and another large YouTuber, and has a podcast, and now a convention.
hard
They say,
work.
how does he do it? What would you say?
If I like honestly had to place it, I don't even know if I could, because sometimes I try to calculate how I do and I don't even. I think that I allow myself so many different things that it's almost worked itself out to that it benefits me because I don't allow myself to get burnt out in one thing for so long. Like it's like I'll edit for you for 45 minutes, then I'll go run, and then I come back and do Rick's thumbnail. Then I come back and do your thing, and then hang out with my family for 30 minutes. Then I come back and do something for the podcast. And then it's like so many moving parts that I don't allow myself to kind of slow down or get bored of like, oh, dude, I've been editing for 6 hours Caleb's video. It sucks. It's almost more like of me doing so many different things that it works for my ADD that it just allows me to keep going without like that feeling of needing to crash.
I thought you were gonna say like copious amount of drugs or
No,
something.
and I don't drink like soda. I've had most year clean of soda, and I don't drink coffee. I don't know.
Dude, he literally, when you said, yeah, editing for Caleb for 6 hours, he just blinks like no emotions.
I was just curious for you. Like, does he complain as much to you guys as he does to me about my edits?
For me, it's not complaining. It's more of just like he's really on the ball about like good criticism. Like he's very like inept about how to like communicate that to you, where you're not feeling like, oh, I really did screw up there. He's really like, hey man, maybe you should kind of build off of this.
Even Retro Rick, when I get his raw footage, whenever he's like talking to people like in their game room, he's talking about me forgetting he's like kind of filming. He's like, oh yeah, dude, if I don't do this right for Riff, he's gonna text me while he's editing. Like, what the crap is this? What kind of janky B-roll is this, dude? Like, learn how to film your own videos. So he's like, I have to get it right, or else Riff will tell me.
That's interesting because, like, as you were saying that, I was actually thinking to myself, speaking of criticism, I wish you would say more of that stuff to me.
I do tell you about your filming.
It.
Like, I tell you, Spanky, like, I would criticize him heavily when he first started filming. I'd call him freaking out. He'd send me a 4-minute montage of someone talking like this, recording, never moving. And I'm like, what the crap? Now I have 4 minutes. And the typical, just so you know, typical edit for a good video, like a Phoenix Resale video, is about an hour per minute, is typically what you spend on a video. So when someone gives you an hour of someone just talking and you have to, or 4 minutes of someone talking, that's now 4 hours at to find clips and transitions and things that make it look interesting and movement and B-roll and other YouTube channels that maybe talk about this to splice it and to make it look nice. So that's why you get so critical when you edit.
Do you have a tough time going to sleep at night?
No.
You're able to turn it off?
I wish my wife was in this room. I am going so fast.
And then it just...
And to the moment I go to bed, I'm like laughing, having fun with my wife, you know, doing whatever. I don't know why I just said that like that. And I am just like, good night. I love you. Have a good night. And gone. Out.
Do we have time for one more follow-up question before I do this, Curtis?
I have one for you too, though.
I would rather you go off of your list.
I have a follow-up though before you get into that.
Are you
Daddy
gonna go?
Curtis?
Riff?
It's a selfish question.
Okay.
You got me at how many subscribers? 66,000, I think was the number you said.
Yeah.
66,000. I'm literally asking you not to toot my horn or beat me down. I don't even care. What percentage or perspective do you think I play in the growth of your channel?
That was for the next one.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
No, we can cut it and just do it later because I have a follow-up on that too.
Oh, you
so
have
that can be that can just be another.
Sweet.
Okay, I'm not worried about it.
Okay, so here
I'm not going to cut it, but yes, just leave that and then move on.
All right, so here are the worst takes on Pixel Plus. I've got 6 of them, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are riffs. Although I've got one for you too, Curtis.
I get ripped all the time.
Number 1, Riff says the 90s consoles should have reflected the decade better with more colors.
Yes, I agree.
Have you ever heard of a Funtastic N64?
Okay, yes, I agree with that.
Have you ever heard of a Game Boy Color?
I get it, you freaking bozo the clown. Or actually,
I heard that. I could not believe my ears.
Well, I get what you're saying.
Like the 90s is the color console.
I think I made that criticism when we were talking about the Super Nintendo. And the Super Nintendo is a pretty boring looking console.
Yeah.
So in my defense, I get it. You're absolutely right with Fantastic. And NES was 80s, so that doesn't count. Looks like a top loader type thing. But Super Nintendo, I in my brain, for what it's the most perfect video game console of all time. I wish it looked like a freaking Nickelodeon radio.
Yeah, I agreed with you on that. It was in reference to the Super Nintendo specifically.
Yeah. But the rest of the decade, you have to admit.
I definitely spoke incorrectly.
But the Genesis, too, that's a 90s console and it's just black.
That one ugly as crap.
Yeah.
Just black.
That's true.
Ugly as crap.
All right, so we're 1 for 1 so far. This one's bad.
Oh, no.
This was Riff 2. Mario Odyssey 2 needs to be a significant departure from Odyssey 1, unlike Galaxy 2 and Tears of the Kingdom. You said, I don't want it to be like those sequels. I want it to be something completely new, departed from the original Mario Odyssey on Switch.
I still hold to that.
And I heard that, no, okay, you go ahead.
Can I explain first?
Yeah, you can explain.
Galaxy 1 to Galaxy 2, great games, both great games. I think my more criticism was coming from the recent, because at the time was Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom. To me, I didn't feel excitement because I just felt like I just felt like they were announcing DLC. Right? In my brain. Like if they would have worded it different, or like Breath of the Wild DLC massive pack, I would have been like, it's the Tears of the Kingdom pack. I would have believed it. Right? So sometimes I find struggle and being excited for a new game when I feel like it's just the same continue. Like I think of the Zelda series besides Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Everything was so different each release that I felt like it was a new thing.
I heard that and I was like, does this guy realize those are two of the most celebrated sequels in gaming history?
Yeah, I know.
Some of the most heralded examples of keeping everything that was great about the original, but building on it and expanding on it to create a brilliant new game that's somehow better than the original. I was like, literally, you picked those games, Galaxy 2 and Tears of the Kingdom, dude, like two of the best sequels of all time. I couldn't believe it. And also disagree with you on the Mario Odyssey segment. Like if you're saying you want it to be significantly different than the original, you just want a different game.
I think I want a different graphics pack is what
the graphics were beautiful.
I know they were, but just like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker and all, I just want to feel like, whoa, look at this new thing Mario's doing. It's Mario Odyssey 2, but that looks crazy.
Okay, well, I convinced you on one. I mean, do you guys, am I crazy?
I love Tears of the Kingdom. I absolutely love it. But
everyone does.
It is amazing. It's one of the best games ever. And it was better than the first, I do think. But it is just a reboot of the same engine. Is what it is.
Yes.
It is a reboot.
Sure, but like, does a sequel need a different engine?
No.
Well, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom, to be fair, just the whole building mechanic of it, I think made it.
It did feel like a different game.
That alone is worth the price of
that
admission.
actually kind of not. I actually didn't finish it because of that. I was getting frustrated with it a little bit.
And it also had that lower thing, and the jumping from the sky was unbelievable.
It ran faster. You know, the engine, looked a little bit better, but.
All right, this next one is Curtis.
Yeah.
You ready to jump in?
Oh, yeah.
Pokemon is basically all Dragon Ball Z crossover characters.
Did I say that?
I don't think I would have made it up.
I don't know. I mean, I've said some pretty bad takes. Let's be real. I get ripped
I'll say Curtis probably has a good amount of hot takes that are horrible.
I get ripped on so much.
He gets ripped in the comments daily.
Because half the time I'm like stroking out and I'm like thinking of other things. And I'm like, I got to have an opinion here. Just throw it right on it, dude. I probably said that, but I mean, like, that sounds so bad. Because I am such a love, like, I love Pokemon so much. It's crazy.
Well, dude, if you're not even going to defend yourself, I won't.
I mean, dude, you're probably perfectly valid.
Hey,
I forgot this was up here.
Hey.
Orange is a nice color on you.
There we go.
Perfectly valid to attack me because I have the worst takes half the time. So
man, now I don't even want to anymore. Hey, can I just say like hashtag stop the Curtis hate?
No.
Can I just say that? Here's my hot take for the pod. I feel like you need a different target who's less who wants it less.
I want it. I want it.
Like if he's not defending himself, if he was dishing it as much as he's getting it, that's good.
Then they should come at me because I dish.
I hear you guys piling on Curtis, and then Curtis piling on Curtis, and I'm like, wait, it's too much.
I like it though.
But behind the scenes, there's so much love for Curtis.
Oh
That's
yeah,
the thing.
Totally.
I genuinely love Curtis.
I am a inviter of self-deprecation, so like
he does.
I
admit.
love it.
Like off camera, he's always self-deprecating.
Because
I actually have to talk you up.
Yeah, but it's
I'm
not
like
like
quit talking bad about yourself, dude.
It's
Only
not
I
where
do it
I'm
on
not
camera.
like I don't have assurance of myself, like of who I am, right?
Yeah.
I want that because I know who I am, and nothing else changes me as long as I'm around the people.
Yeah, and
love.
you've said that to us because I've even said it to you, like, you all right with this and that? And you're like, yeah, I actually like prefer it. Like, especially when you said you're like going through a rough time or something, you like want to.
That's Gabo's kind of like that too.
Yeah,
like he likes the humor towards his accent. He does.
I mean, there's so many things that people are going through out in the outside world. They kind of like. I don't mind taking some of the heat off of their life to like target something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As long as it's not like where it's just like toxic, but I like the joking and poking and my terrible takes. I love that kind of stuff.
And it is never toxic towards you ever. It is always in good.
Well, there's been a few, but I mean like
from this guy?
No, not from you guys. No,
not from us.
From outside sources where it's just like there's not like there's only like not a legitimacy behind.
I was going to say from us, it's always I feel like is
I could.
Oh yeah.
I love you guys so much it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's the least toxic thing.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah, Caleb, quit making it feel bad.
You know, I'm an outsider a little bit. It makes me feel uncomfortable when you poke at his mom so much.
Well, everyone's poking his mom, dude.
Apologize for all the poking of Curtis's mom.
yeah, that's funny.
Gabo,
All right, how
like,
about,
Gabo the
you
other
got
day-
one more?
I said that to Gabo the other day. I was like, oh, he like, like someone in the comments said something like, do you guys make fun of his accent so much? And Gabo was like, I genuinely be worried if you guys weren't making fun of it. He's like, they don't like me anymore.
Yeah.
Like if we weren't poking at him. So, but yeah. What's your other one?
All right, my next one is back to Riff. You said nothing will ever be better than the original Turtles because they laid the groundwork for everything else.
The original Turtles movie.
Yeah.
That's what I was referring to. Yes.
And I heard that and I was like, does that mean that Pong is the best video game?
No. I am
Because
specifically
it laid the ground, or like, is Snow White the best Disney movie?
That's arguable. I would say I was speaking of the original Ninja Turtles movie because the newer one came out.
Yeah.
And there was so much hype about it, and I feel like the hype was hot and quick. And then after, I was like, it really wasn't as good as we all thought. It was just kind of hot and new.
Yeah.
I just felt like the original one, it was like Pong is mediocre in the end, right? But Ninja Turtles original wasn't mediocre. It was like pretty extraordinary for what it was. So I feel like all the newer ones, they've all been pretty... I use my Beatles analogy on that last one. I remember I used the Beatles analogy for that. It's like, yeah, anybody can go rewrite a Beatles song that's already been the groundwork. The brilliance has already been made. And they go, yeah, but we added another harmony in the chorus, so it's better. There's a better riff, a better arpeggio in here. But in reality, it's like, well, the brilliance was the hardest part of it, of what the Ninja Turtles movie with the, the way the characters were made and the suits were made. It's like, that was, to me, a level of genius that if someone just goes back in there and adds a little to it, it doesn't to me.
How many more do you have on that list, sir?
I've got 2.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so this one is actually a duo, Riff and Chris.
Ooh.
Who said, and this one is controversial. I think I put this one in here because I was the dissenting opinion. You said that video games were better in the 90s.
Yes.
I agree.
I just want to
stand by
agreed.
that.
Click, double check. Yep.
I'm gonna stick by
Here's
it.
the point. Like, and I totally respect that for you guys. But in an objective sense, they're not.
You're wrong.
Like, would you like you'll confess that, right? Like, they're not objectively.
I would say that they're better.
Let me ask you this: you get the average 10-year-old kid who's never played a video game.
Got it.
And you take some 60-year-old lady who's never played a video game.
Yep.
And you give them both Mario 64 and Mario Odyssey. Which one are they going to say is better?
Give him Super Mario World and Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
Sure.
Give them the Super Nintendo.
Sure,
I would
either
take
one.
I would take Super Mario World
No,
over
they're
that.
not, dude. No, they're not, dude.
I would think Super Mario World.
I think if somebody played Super Mario World, I think that they
I
would
think
like
Super
that.
Mario was almost the defining perfect video game.
You're
It is,
barking.
and to me, it is
for people who are nostalgic for it and who have
No.
an appreciation. And like, everyone can pick up and play Mario World. It holds up amazing. It's an incredible game. But compared to what is now the peak of like the video game world, right? Like the best of the best is better than the best of the best in the
I also
90s.
think you're talking about just jumping in and playing. I mean, the average video game nowadays, there's so much more problems. There's microtransactions up the yin yang to where you can't even play the game. There's so much more just garbage. Even like if you look at the eShop, it started out with so much promise. Like, look at this eShop. This is going to be amazing. They put Blaster Master Zero. 2 years later, it's like garb.
Yeah.
It's just anything makes it and anything goes. Finished games is huge for me, right? You
Yeah.
can pop it in, press go, and you're playing Earthbound.
I would
right?
accept that. I wouldn't argue that the average game now is better than the average game in the 90s, but I would say the best games now are definitely better than the best games in the 90s. The caliber of the top level games has increased.
What would you take? This is a tough one. Would you take what is better, Tears of the Kingdom or Link to the Past?
Link to the Past.
Tears of the Kingdom.
That's a tough
A
one.
Chrono
for me.
Trigger, a Final Fantasy II,
Sorry.
a Super Metroid.
Now, Link to the Past
Did
is
you
one of
say
my
Final Fantasy 2?
Final Fantasy II is incredible. I love Final Fantasy II. It is so good. And Final Fantasy
Doesn't
3.
pretty much everyone agree that Final Fantasy doesn't get good until 6 or 7?
No.
Opposite. I don't play the Final Fantasies after
Yeah,
6 or
but
7.
The 16-bit
what I'm
Final
saying-
Fantasies are great.
Like give the average person who's not a total nostalgic gaming nerd that series of games, they're gonna say the later one. They're gonna say Final Fantasy VII Remake is the best one in the series.
I think Super Nintendo is going to break any generation.
The only reason I might say that the Tears of the Kingdom is better than Link to the Past is just the amount of like world, like Link to the Past is such a shorter game. Tears of the Kingdom, like I was in that for so long and exploring so much. But length isn't always better. Like a longer book isn't necessarily better than a shorter book.
Totally. Ask
but
my
in that
wife.
way, I was very wrapped up in it.
My son's like a big Zelda fan. He's only 10 years old. And he finished Tears of the Kingdom. He finished Breath of the Wild. He hasn't played Link to the Past because he couldn't really get into it. But he has played Ocarina, Wind Waker, and those are his favorite games. Not the new stuff.
Ocarina.
So, but
Wind Waker's amazing
he is
too.
a bigger fan of Odyssey than he is Super Mario World and stuff like that.
I do love Odyssey.
You know,
I think we can chalk this one up to an agree to disagree.
Yeah, totally. I truly believe the Super Nintendo was the greatest time in video game history.
I second that.
I just do.
Too. I think that the games that came out are very perfect.
We lived through those times, and games releasing then are different than where they're a dime a dozen now. Where then it seemed a little bit more special, not as many, and now that we've been able to, as adults, kind of see these games in context, we just have like different views of them.
But there is something you said earlier about like the brilliance of it, like Metroid Dread is really, really, really good game on the Switch. But when it came out on Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo, like that game is incredible.
Yeah.
It is so good. And maybe because it was the brilliance of it at the time.
Yeah.
You're like, this is unbelievable how good it is. So.
Yep.
And there's a lot of games that are, like Caleb was saying, there's a lot of games that are coming out that are great. Maybe it's too many and it's not as special anymore.